census data, national crime records, road accident statistics. Just a few examples of the union government's data that's not available. It's a brand new year, but we're still asking the same question. Where is the data? Remember back in 2020 when the government claimed it had no data on how many migrant workers died while trying to get back home during a lockdown? Or the next year when the Modi government said it had no data on how many people died from a lack of oxygen during the second wave? By the end of 2024, there was no government data on at least 16 critical issues. And 9 important union ministry annual reports have not yet been released. And some of them for several years now. But this isn't just about the missing data. It shows a larger pattern. While the government publicly dismisses global rankings and indices,
how do they build that index? 3,000 people in a country of 140 crore get a phone call from Gallup. And they're asked, are you hungry?
An investigation by the Reporters Collective reveals that the Indian government has been actively trying to influence these rankings, almost 30 of them. Look, data is essential for any government. It helps identify what's working, what's not, and helps them make informed decisions. But over the last decade, we've seen this government's reluctance to share data. And it's not a glitch. It's part of a calculated strategy. And this matters because it impacts all of us directly.
Let me speak. Let me speak. Let me speak.
Whether it's tracking electoral bonds or digging into government data on key issues like health and education, our reporters are committed to cutting through the noise and uncovering the real story. We too could have taken shortcuts like many other news outlets and just published the official handouts. But that only benefits those in power and not you. This year, stand with us so we can continue standing up for you. Become a News Laundry and the News Minute subscriber right away. Now back to the story. I've already told you about the no data syndrome in the past few years. And this report by IndiaSpend has shown how nothing has changed on this front. 16 crucial data sets have not been made available by the union government. This includes census data, crime numbers, accidental deaths and suicide, survey on higher education and certification of cause of death. Interestingly, many of these data sets are not available not just for 1 year, but for 2 or more years. For example, the last available NCRB data is from 2022. Releasing this data is key to spotting crime trends, holding authorities accountable, and shaping better public safety policies. Then there is the cause of death certification, which is from 2020. The certification of cause of death records provides detailed information on the reasons behind deaths, broken down by age and gender. This is essential for public health planning and tracking mortality trends. And the biggest issue, the census has not been conducted since 2011. We all know that the 2021 census was delayed because of the pandemic, but it's been 4 years since, and we still have no clear reason for the delay. The lack of this data also impacts other crucial stats like poverty and employment rates. But here's the thing, it's not just about the missing data sets. Many ministries also haven't released their annual reports. These reports cover the ministry's activities, policies, and programs. IndiaSpend review shows that at least 9 ministries have delayed their reports, with Law and Justice Ministry having the longest delay. The last report available is from 2017. Other ministries with delays include Ayush, Civil Aviation, Defence, and Railways. Now, what happens if these data sets are delayed? The absence of important data sets affects policy implementation. How do we make things better when we don't know what we lack?
I look forward to your feedback and suggestions in the future as well.
Look, we've been through a major pandemic, and the figures after that are crucial to make sure that major health decisions are made the right way. And how do we improve education system when even basic survey data is not available? And without census, how do we frame policies on poverty, employment, affirmative action, and so on? On the other hand, this investigation has revealed that the Indian government has been trying to influence global rankings, like the Global Hunger Index.
And that index says Pakistan is doing better than India.
Why? To improve public image. An investigation by the Reporters Collective says that this isn't a one-off effort. It's reportedly part of a larger plan to monitor 30 global indices and reach out to their publishers whenever India doesn't rank well. This involves at least 19 ministries which are tasked with tracking indices related to hunger, health, education, press freedom, and democracy. They've also roped in a Gujarat-based IT firm, the same firm that's been linked to BJP's online reputation campaigns. The government has been working to influence global rankings, even reaching out to publishers through Indian embassies. When India ranked low on the Hunger Index in 2019, the government pushed back, and senior officials quickly contacted the publishers demanding changes. Now, it isn't just global rankings that the Indian government seems to be disturbed by. Back in July 2023, the Union government suspended K.S. James, the director of IIPS. This handles things like NFHS and other critical data exercises for the government. An official has revealed that the government wasn't happy with some of the data that IIPS had presented. This included findings that contradicted big claims made by the Modi government. This begs the question, why this resistance to data? Some experts believe that the government might be holding back on data that could hurt them politically. If the government were to release figures, it would invite questions, criticism, and accountability for the declining state of affairs. But there's more to it. The strategy of no data is about controlling the narrative. It's about keeping the power to shape how today's events will be framed in the future. Facts take a backseat while the story becomes the focus. For instance, consider the oxygen shortages during the second COVID wave. If no data is shared, then it leaves room for the narrative to be entirely rewritten later. A failure could be rebranded as a success. But in the end, it's the citizens who suffer. Not only do we face the consequences of those in power failing us, but without data, we can't even ask for improvements. Withholding information leaves us powerless. The gap between what the government knows and what we're allowed to know is growing fast. And this isn't by chance. It's a deliberate strategy to keep us in the dark while those in power gain more control over our lives. That's it from me for this week. Do write to me at pooja@thenewsminute.com with any kind of questions, suggestions, feedback, or any topic you want to suggest for my next episode. Before I go, let me plug my colleague Shivani Kava's work. She works out of Bengaluru but travels across Karnataka and has even traveled to Maharashtra to cover the elections there. The link to her work is in the description below. She's a young reporter, very enthusiastic, and wants to do more reporting. You can support her by contributing to our Reporters Fund.